beginning next Monday, there will be, for the contest, a Mary Tyler Moore segment. There, I won't make it a 4. I won't make it a 3. But if you want to play with me, you better come prepared for a little MTM. That is fact. I've got all the books. I've read everything, including this latest one from 2013. Mary Tyler Moore will be a theme with your contest. And you can moan and groan all you want. You can call up and threaten lawsuits. I run the contest. We do it the way I want to do it. And Mary Tyler Moore is in the mix. Tell him, Eddie. In the mix. I am reading this great book on Mary Tyler Moore. I can't get enough of it. Anyway, let's get to calls. Here's Jeff in Minnesota, and he starts us. Jeff, good afternoon. How are you today? What do you have?
I just want to tell you, Mad Dog, I love you, brother. I love you, man. You're talking to a lifelong Vikings fan. You nailed it. I was there. The guy who threw the bottle that hit the referee was about 4 rows behind me.
That guy is still a Viking fan? What's his name? He's in the stands still after 40-something years, after 1975?
The guy, I don't know who it was. I just know he was about 4 rows behind me. I was 13.
Oh, you're talking about then when you were there. I thought you meant yesterday. Okay, so when you were at the game.
Yeah, no.
Right.
I was at the game. The guy who threw it was right behind us. But the point was, I was there, saw it. What people don't realize, there was an orange that someone threw. To everybody in the stands thought that was a flag. It went bouncing. Once it started to bounce, everybody, there was like this visceral reaction in the stands, like, they're not throwing a flag.
Well, everybody thought that. Everybody thought offensive pass interference on Nate Wright, and it turned out, Pearson did push off, but they're not going to call that in that situation. So if you're a Viking fan, Jeff, you got that game back yesterday. If you are a Viking fan, that game now is erased because you lost a game in a divisional round in which you should have won in 1975. Remember, that was not a championship game. The Cowboys the next week went to L.A. and buried the Rams. So from that perspective, you got that game back. And Tony Dorsett was a rookie in that team, if I'm not mistaken. I think so.
Yeah. What they don't remember on that last thing on this, Mad Dog, was the play before. Drew Pearson was at least, my seats, I could sit right down the line. He was probably 5 yards out of bounds, but back then, they used to count it. If he caught it in air, even though he was way out of bounds, they counted that. And it was, really, it should have never even got to that point.
Dorsett was not on that team. He was there a little later on. Preston Pearson was. I never thought the play before that was a huge play. Staubach threw the ball, caught on the 50-yard line by Pearson. Then, of course, the touchdown. They had to go, basically 80 yards in 3 plays. But remember, Jeff. That game, now you live in a city that's been living with that kind of laws for a long time.
You nailed it, buddy.
That specific game, not this now. If you lose next week, different story. But that divisional game to this divisional game, that is now over with. You can't make a big deal about that game anymore. That's finished. Go ahead.
No, well, and the other thing is, so I was there in '98 too, and I'm walking in with my buddy. I had season tickets that year. I said, What if he misses the field goal? Anderson misses. And he said, shut up. And, well, you know the rest.
Yeah, terrible. He missed the field goal. Would have given him a 10-point lead, and there you go. Here's Chad. Chad in Iowa, and he's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Chad, good afternoon. Good start. Chad, what's up now? What do you have for me today?
Hey, thanks for having me. Love the show.
Good.
I'm a huge Vikings fan. My brother's a huge Packers fan, so I've been hearing it from him for years. I'm actually driving home from Minnesota. I was at the game yesterday, too. I was actually in the front row behind the Vikings bench, about the 30-yard line where Diggs caught the pass. I was with my 7-year-old son, and if they can go and finish this thing and win the Super Bowl for the rest of his life, we're going to have that memory, and he'll be able to say, this is where I was when that happened. It was just the best game I've ever been to in my entire life.
Well, did people now after? I don't know if they did. Did anybody leave the building after Futz made the field goal for the Saints?
I didn't notice anybody leaving. We were talking like, okay, when we kicked our field goal, we left Breeze too much time, and then after they kicked their field goal, we had 25 seconds left and no timeouts.
No, one timeout. They had one timeout left. They had one timeout left.
They had one left. My 7-year-old was covering his face up. He didn't want to watch. I was like, you got to watch this, buddy. And But after Diggs scored, I mean, it took 15 minutes at all for anybody to lead. I mean, the players were jumping all over each other. The fans were cheering and hugging everybody. It was the coolest atmosphere I've ever been in my entire life.
And I love the clap that you have with your hands going. What's it called again? That famous Viking kind of clap. What's it called?
Skol, the Skol clap.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it.
It was awesome, and great memories for me and my son, and I hope they can finish the deal. So,
well, again, you want to finish the deal because if you don't, it's just another isolated game. But again, that game now replaces the Cowboy-Viking game. I mean, it was not a Super Bowl Cowboys-Vikings. It was the same round, divisional round. So that game now, if you're a Viking fan, is past. It's a little bit like the Angels when they won Game 6 against the Giants in 2002. When the Angels were down, was it 5-0 or 6-0? I forget now. Bottom of the seventh inning, 5. Bottom of the seventh inning, they erased Game 5 with the Red Sox. They erased it. Their comeback in that game erased the Red Sox comeback in 86. That's what I mean by a miracle. The Angels hadn't won a championship. They had lost a lot of tough series. They lost a 5-game series to the Brewers in 82. The Orioles beat them in 1979. They were a star-crossed franchise. Obviously got picked up by Boston in a heartbreaker in 86. They were the best team. They needed to have something to erase the stigma. The Giant comeback did that. Just like the Giants, when they lost in 2002, they needed something to erase that. 2010, they had a couple of miracle wins there against Atlanta. That accomplished that. Texas in baseball, they're going to need something down the road, a miracle win to erase the bitterness of Game 6 in St. Louis when they were a strike away twice. They're going to need something. You need something, and the Vikings got it yesterday. Now, again, you want to finish the deal. But let's be honest. Let's call it like we see it. I know we have Eagle fans out there that we'll talk to today. A New England-Minnesota Super Bowl in Minnesota is a tremendous storyline. Let's call it like we see it. Now, it'd be fascinating to see, as far as the fandom is concerned, how much it does feel like a home field. Super Bowl is a corporate event. And, you know, there are fans there, but it's got a corporate feel to it. If the Vikings are in the game, is it really going to be a home game like we know it to be a home game? That we don't know that. We're going to have to wait and see until game time. But the Patriots with Belichick and Brady going to Minneapolis to take on the Vikings in a Super Bowl with Minnesota being a home team, theoretically, that's sports. That will be we will have, now if it's Jacksonville, Philly, we're dead. But if it's Minnesota and New England in Minnesota, that's a big-time event. That's an unforgettable event. Brady on the road against a big defense, had a miracle win. That is fun. At 40 years old, that is fun. Jim in White Plains. Jimmy, good afternoon, New York. Hello, Jim. How are you today, pal? What do you have for me?
I'm great. How you doing?
All right, Jimmy, thank you. What's on your mind now? Fire away.
Well, first thing is, I think, Scott, you were right that they did have a God with them because that little old lady that kept showing that was 99 going to be 100 had to be a good luck charm. That's
an excellent point. Here it is. The lady hasn't been to a football game her whole life. It's amazing. She's been living in Minnesota since 1961 and has never been to a Viking game. Never had a chance to go to a game, got a letter, got tickets, and that's the game she sees. I mean, think about that for a minute. You have a woman who is 100 years old, big storyline, the Vikings get into the game, and they win with 10 seconds to go. You don't think God plays in the game sometimes? Unbelievable. Go ahead. Next.
I thought that was quite a coincidence or whatever, divine intervention there. Dougie, though, I think you were wrong. Minnesota didn't have any timeouts left.
I thought they had one. Maybe I'm wrong.
Otherwise, they would have called it at the end if he caught the ball.
No. What I meant was they had a timeout left when that series began.
Oh yeah, and then they used it.
I know they didn't. I know when the last play they didn't have a timeout, but they had a timeout when I meant the Saints should have made sure the Vikings didn't have any timeouts when their last possession began.
I absolutely agree with you. When they ran that one play, the last running play they ran, they still had a timeout to go. They should have used it. Just let the clock run. I thought the coach should be blamed as much as that kid who missed the tackle there.
Well, again, the Saints should have been in a situation where they made sure that the last possession of the game was going to be on the foot of their kicker, and they didn't do that. That is the problem from that standpoint. Here is Dave in Ohio, and he is with us here on Mad Dog Unleashed. Dave, good afternoon. How are you today? What do you have for me?
Hey, good. Hey, I want to let you know that I think the team to beat of the four left is Jacksonville. They just went into Pittsburgh and hit the Steelers right in the mouth. And I look at two things when I watch a game. Number one is this: when you're a running team, do you win the scrums? And you know what the scrums are? Runners stop. Both teams are pushing against each other. There was a couple of plays where literally the runner was stopped a 3 or 4 yard gain, and he was pushed another 6 or 7 forward.
Listen, Dave, I get it. The Jaguars right now, we got to do the Vikings here first. We'll do Jaguars and Steelers later. The Jaguars did punch the Steelers in the mouth. I got to see him do it again at New England before I'm going to go crazy, to be quite honest with you. I have to see that again. Justin is in South Carolina, and he's with us here on Mad Dog Unleashed. Justin, good afternoon. How are you today?
Good afternoon, dog. Well, I want to tell you right now that, hey, Case Keenum right here is playing with house money. If the Minnesota Vikings don't keep him, he's going to get paid because there's a big need for quarterbacks.
Yeah, he's in a very good situation, and Minnesota's in a tricky spot because they have two quarterbacks behind them. Bradford's always hurt, but he's there. Bridgewater coming off a major injury. Keenan's going to want a ton of money. He's only making $2 million. What they do with him will be very, very interesting. Go ahead.
Yes, that is true. And then I heard you say you was writing off Jacksonville. Hey, you got to remember, Tom Coughlin has gotten the best of Brady and Belichick in the last two championship games that he was in. So you know he's out there advising those boys.
Yeah, I agree.
His fingerprints is all over Jacksonville's defense. So I don't put nothing past somebody that gets the best of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. If it is anybody, it's Tom Coughlin.
I get it. No, he's not coaching. It's a little different, Justin. He's not coaching, but I do understand. If you want to have confidence with Jacksonville, go at it. We'll spend some time on that game in a few minutes. We'll continue with your calls at half past. Dan Lang, Sports Bite, Mad Dog Unleashed.